Hi there, I'm Doris, and I'm 31. Let me share something pretty incredible with you. I'll get straight to the point because I know your time is valuable. For the longest time, I believed my life would be, well, ordinary. I never pictured myself achieving anything out of the ordinary, so I settled into a peaceful, simple routine. I was content. Really, my husband Mason is the epitome of laid back. He's the kind of person you just get along with. No effort needed. We never argued about the little things. Our evenings were predictable but pleasant. We'd come home, exchange stories about our day, maybe watch a show together. It was the definition of comfortably plain. Then there was Melissa, my mother-in-law. Contrary to what you might expect, she wasn't the villain of the story. In fact, I was grateful for her. She was warm, kind, and welcomed me like I was her own. We'd chat over coffee, go shopping, and share family recipes that I cherished. But eventually, that simple life started feeling a little too small. Approaching my late 20s, each day felt the same, and I found myself yearning for something more. My job wasn't terrible, and my life wasn't unhappy, but there was this nagging feeling that I was destined for something bigger. The world was changing, remote work, online businesses, people living life on their own terms, and there I was, stuck in my cubicle, doing the same thing every day. I didn't have grand ambitions to change the world, but I wanted more. More from life, more from myself. I wanted to see what I could accomplish beyond the confines of a 9-to-5 job. So, I started dreaming. I imagined a life where I could work online, independently, and explore different paths. This wasn't about escaping my job, it was about finding a passion that truly excited me. As time went on, that dream became clearer. And so did my resolve to leave my job for something more meaningful. The idea of breaking free from my cubicle chains and discovering what truly brought me joy became irresistible. But I hesitated. How would Mason feel? Our life was comfortable, predictable, almost ideal. We had our routines, our safety nets. The thought of stepping outside of that was daunting, but the pull for something more was too strong to ignore. I didn't want to risk our financial stability or disrupt the harmony of our life over what some might consider a fleeting whim. Yet, the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a passing feeling, it was a deep, calling desire. I couldn't just push it aside. So, one evening after dinner, I gathered my courage for a heart-to-heart with Mason. We settled onto the couch, our usual spot for talks, and I took a deep breath before speaking. Hey Mason, can we talk? Of course, Doris, what's on your mind? It's about my job. I've been feeling trapped. I'm not unhappy, but I crave something more, something different. Different? How do you mean? I've been thinking about leaving my job to explore something new. I'm not exactly sure what yet, but I feel this strong desire to find something that truly excites me. Doris, if this is something you need to do for your happiness, I'm behind you all the way. We'll figure out the details as we go. Really? You're not worried about the money or anything? Not at all. We can work through the finances together. I'd love to help brainstorm ideas with you. I couldn't believe it. You're incredible. I love you so much. I love you too, Doris. We're in this together. With Mason's support, we started exploring possibilities. I was drawn to the idea of starting my own business, maybe selling my crafts and artwork online. The future was uncertain, but with Mason's encouragement, I felt more determined than ever. Everything seemed to be falling into place. But then, life threw a curveball. One afternoon, I was sitting with Melissa over lattes during one of our regular catch-ups. The conversation was flowing, but I knew I had to bring up the decision that had been weighing on me. Melissa, there's something important I need to talk to you about. It's a big change I'm considering. She looked at me with concern. Oh dear. You know you can talk to me about anything. What's on your mind? Well, I've been thinking about my job a lot lately, and I'm considering quitting. Melissa's expression shifted slightly. That's quite a thought. Dear, are you sure you've thought this through completely? Yes, I've discussed it with Mason, and he's fully behind me. I just feel like I need a change, something that brings me more satisfaction, more purpose. I explained my thoughts, hoping for her understanding. But Melissa's reaction was far from what I had expected. Doris, this sounds incredibly self-centered, she said, her voice sharp. You have a steady job, a loving husband, and a life many would envy. Why would you want to give all of that up on a whim? The people around us in the cafe looked just as taken aback by her outburst as I was. I hadn't anticipated such a strong reaction, especially from Melissa, whom I always thought of as supportive and nurturing. Her words stung like a slap in the face. "I'm not trying to be reckless," I replied, my voice trembling. "I just want to find something that makes me happy, something meaningful. I don't understand why you're so against this." "You're married, Doris," she shot back. "You should be thinking about your family, not chasing after unrealistic dreams." "It's possible to care for my family and still pursue my dreams," I countered, the words coming out more forcefully than I had intended. "I won't neglect my duties." "Well, you better figure out how, then," she snapped, "because as it stands, you're about to make a huge mistake. Frankly, I'm disappointed." The rest of our coffee meeting was painfully quiet, the air thick with tension. Her words echoed in my mind, planting seeds of doubt that I couldn't shake off. Returning home, I felt heavy and confused. I couldn't wait to talk to Mason about what had happened. "Mason, you won't believe what happened when I told Mom about my plans," I began, sinking into the couch beside him. She was furious, accused me of being selfish, saying I was neglecting my responsibilities as a wife. "Really?" Mason said, clearly shocked. I thought she'd be supportive, maybe even excited. "What exactly did she say?" "She called me selfish. She said I was making a huge mistake and insisted I should prioritize being a wife above everything else." "Are you serious? That's so unlike her." "Doris, don't let her reaction stop you. What matters most is that you're happy and fulfilled." "But what if she's right?" I asked, the doubt creeping into my voice. "What if I am being unreasonable? Maybe I should just forget the whole idea."
"No," Mason said firmly, taking my hand. "You've been feeling this way for a long time now. This isn't just a passing phase. Your happiness and fulfillment matter. We'll figure this out together, okay?" His words were the reassurance I needed, the reminder of why I started thinking about this change in the first place. Despite the uncertainty, I knew deep down that pursuing my dreams was the right path, even if it meant facing opposition from people I cared about. "Seeing how passionate you are about this, I can't understand why she reacted that way. It was totally unexpected. But I have complete confidence in you," Mason continued, looking me in the eyes. "You'll succeed in whatever you choose to do, Doris. Do you really believe in me that much?" I asked, feeling a rush of gratitude. "Absolutely," he replied. "You're incredibly talented and adaptable. Even though you're not sure exactly where you want to go yet, I know you'll make it work." His faith in me meant everything. "Thank you, Mason. Your belief in me gives me so much strength. I'm going to prove to your mom, and anyone else who doubts me, that I can turn this dream into a reality." With Mason's unwavering support, I dove headfirst into crocheting, pouring my heart into my craft. I stocked up on vibrant yarns, hooks, and all the supplies I could find, even turning our dining room into a dedicated space for my new venture. Handing in my resignation from my mundane job felt like the first step toward a thrilling adventure. My days were filled with crafting scarves, hats, keychains, home decor, and blankets. At first, the beginnings were modest, and success felt distant, but my resolve never wavered. Over time, my confidence in my crochet abilities grew, and I began to develop unique patterns. Launching an online store on Shopify was a significant milestone, and the positive feedback and sales that followed confirmed that I was on the right path. However, any hope that my success might soften Melissa's stance was quickly dashed. Our relationship hit a new low when she came over to use our laundry machine. Upon seeing my crochet projects scattered around the dining room, her reaction was one of outright disdain. "Doris, what in the world is this chaos?" she asked, her voice dripping with disbelief. "This is my crochet work," I replied, trying to keep calm. "I've started a small business. I mentioned it to you before. Take a look at my Shopify shop. It's been going well. Maybe I could even make something special for you." Her face contorted with a look of sheer displeasure as she surveyed my creations, treating them as though they were beneath her. "Crocheting, Doris? Is this really how you choose to spend your time?" Her words were sharp, dismissing not just my work, but my passion as trivial. Despite the sting of her disapproval, her reaction only fueled my determination to prove her wrong. I was growing frustrated. How could she dismiss my dreams and hard work so carelessly? "Look, I'm exploring a new path, something that truly excites me," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. If you can't offer your support, maybe it's best if you leave. The words slipped out more from hurt than anger, but Melissa's reaction was immediate and intense. A barrage of insults followed, leaving me stunned. Here I was, in my own home, being treated with utter disdain. How dare you suggest I leave? I came here to help, and this is the thanks I get, she yelled. Help? Your words aren't helpful. They're downright hurtful. I retorted, frustration clear in my voice. And just how successful has this new venture of yours been? How much have you earned? She demanded, skepticism painted on her face. I hesitated, my pride wounded, before admitting, I've made about $1,350 so far. Her laughter in response was like a slap in the face. Only $1,350, Doris? You're fooling yourself. It's time to stop this folly and get a real job. That's not an option anymore, I said firmly. I've resigned from my job. The mix of defiance and dread in my voice was unmistakable. Her reaction was pure shock and anger, as if I had just announced the unthinkable. Her demeanor shifted into something foreign and intimidating. You quit your job without consulting me? That's the height of your responsibility, she spat. I wasn't aware I needed your approval to make decisions about my own life, I shot back, the tension thickening between us. The situation escalated quickly, with Melissa throwing my crochet projects to the floor in a fit of rage. That was my breaking point. Enough, Melissa. You need to leave now, or I'm calling the police. I had never felt such anger, but I knew I had to defend my dreams against anyone who tried to belittle them. Melissa hesitated, perhaps thinking I was bluffing, but the determination in my stance was clear. Reluctantly, she left, but not without one last insult. You're a failure as a mother and a wife, and you'll never be good enough for my son. The words stung deeply, leaving a wound that wasn't easy to ignore. I stood there, shaken and overwhelmed by a mix of anger, frustration, and hurt. When Mason came home that evening, he found me in emotional turmoil, visibly shaken by everything that had happened. Mason spent the rest of the day defending me in a heated phone conversation with his mom, who had tried to sway him to her side after storming out of my house. But Mason, ever the supportive partner, stood firmly by me, rejecting his mother's baseless criticisms. You wouldn't believe the kind of day I've had, Mason said as he entered. Mom's been on the phone throwing accusations at you. It's been surreal. I couldn't understand why Melissa was acting this way. As Mason and I sat down to discuss the situation, I shared the details of her most recent visit, pondering whether her animosity might be rooted in jealousy over my growing passion. The thought was unsettling. Why would your mom act so spitefully? I asked, struggling to make sense of it. It's like she's determined to bring me down. Mason, caught between his loyalty to his mother and his support for me, was visibly torn. When I mentioned jealousy, he hesitated. I don't know, Doris. It seems far-fetched, but I'm struggling to find another explanation. He admitted, uncertainty in his voice. Ultimately, he suggested some time apart might help cool things off between me and Melissa, hoping that distance could soften her attitude. Maybe you're right, I agreed, but I knew that no matter the explanation, I couldn't let her negativity take root in my life. So, I channeled my frustration into my crochet work, determined to prove her wrong. She thinks I'm not good enough? I'll show her. I'll show everyone just how wrong they are, I vowed, pouring my energy into the craft. And it paid off. My crochet business, aptly named Not Your Average Creations, was thriving. My online store, website, and loyal customer base were growing steadily. I even introduced crochet starter kits, which quickly became a hit with beginners eager to try their hand at the craft. The success exceeded my wildest expectations, with monthly earnings of $77,000 and the prospect of even more growth. I planned to expand my team, and Mason, the kids, and I were all ecstatic. My dream wasn't just alive, it was thriving. I had proved that passion and hard work could turn aspirations into reality. Then, an incredible opportunity came my way. A wealthy client expressed interest in investing in my business, a moment that felt like the ultimate affirmation. Not only had I proved my doubters wrong, but I had built something truly special. The excitement was overwhelming, as the potential for growth felt limitless. But just when things seemed to be going perfectly, Melissa appeared again. This time, her anger was even more intense. She stormed into our home, her eyes blazing at the sight of my crochet projects scattered around. With no warning, she slammed divorce papers down on the table. Divorce papers. She claimed my silly hobby was tearing our family apart. My heart raced as I stared at the papers in shock. Mason, ever my defender, was equally stunned. Melissa's demand for a divorce over something I loved doing pushed me to my breaking point. With a firm resolve, I stepped forward, facing her. Quitting my thriving business is not an option, I told her, my voice steady. Not now, especially with an investor on board and the potential to make $162,000 a month by year's end. At the mention of that figure, Melissa's face shifted from fury to mortification. You heard right, $162,000 a month, I said, not backing down. And if you're so eager for me to leave, I'll do just that. I was bluffing, but I needed her to understand the gravity of what was at stake. I saw Mason's worried glance, but my stance was unwavering. Melissa's response was immediate. Please don't go. Don't leave, she pleaded, her earlier fury gone, replaced by desperation. I was taken aback. Can you believe this, Mason? After all the trouble she's caused, she changes her tune the moment she hears about the money? It's shameful. Don't you dare speak to me like that, Melissa snapped back, but her words were weak. Her sudden about-face was a glaring contradiction. It was clear now that her anger had been fueled not by concern for the family but by jealousy over my success. That realization made her previous attacks feel hollow. You weren't just concerned, Melissa, you were outright hostile, I said, my patience wearing thin. But then she confessed something that shifted the tone of the conversation. Her voice softened as she admitted she had been struggling with health issues, the result of years of exposure to harmful substances in her agricultural factory job. Her health was deteriorating, and her bitterness stemmed from the years spent in a job she despised. I've been jealous, Doris. You had the chance to do something meaningful, and I didn't. I was just scared you'd fail. But now I see what you've built, and I'm afraid for myself, she admitted, her vulnerability evident. Her confession made me pause. Why should I help you after everything you've done? I asked, still grappling with her past behavior. I know I've made mistakes, she said, her voice trembling. I'm really struggling now, Doris. I need help. Mason, sensing the emotional weight of the conversation, suggested it was time for her to leave. We needed space to process everything. Melissa left, her eyes brimming with tears, and though I was angry and hurt, I couldn't ignore the guilt that gnawed at me. That night, Mason and I talked. He was torn, hurt by his mother's actions, but also sympathizing with her plight. Ultimately, the decision was mine. Melissa's past actions didn't excuse her behavior, but her situation made it hard to ignore. I knew I wasn't obligated to help her, but the thought of denying her when our children could benefit from having their grandmother around longer didn't sit well with me. After some reflection, I decided to offer her help, but on my terms. She needed to understand that respect and support were earned, not entitled. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, but I knew it was the right choice for me and my family. It was a small form of retribution, a reminder that actions have consequences, but it also offered a path toward healing and reconciliation.